what's going on? This is Mass Gun Talk. I'm Corey S. This is episode 4. Remember, check us out on Facebook. Check us out on TikTok. Hit that like button and that subscribe button. If you have any comments or questions, drop them below. We won't get into this next topic. Today, we're going to discuss the Colin and Colt Gray case. It's only the second time this happened in history. Let's stay tuned. What's going on, everybody? This is Mass Gun Talk. I'm Corey S. This is episode 4. It's been a while, missed you guys. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's staying on top of the training. Again, like I said, it's better to be ready than get ready, because you don't elevate to the level of the situation. You fall to the level of your training. Now, in this podcast today, we're going to be talking about the Colin and Colt Gray case, Georgia's landmark parental liability conviction. Now, what happened, we're going to dive into today. It's one of the most consequential school shooting related legal cases in U.S. history. I'm not trying to make this a legal situation. I'm just trying to comment on actually what happened and how things were, prosecuted, basically, in the laws that caused this to come about in regards to the Colin and Colt Gray case out of Georgia. So what happened was Colt Gray, he was 14 years old. He carried a AR-15 style rifle in his backpack to Appalachia High School in Winder, Georgia. Now, this is on September 4th, 2024, and he opened fire. Unfortunately, he killed 4 people, 2 14-year-old students, Mason Schermerhorn and Christian Angulo. Let's give a moment of silence for those that lost their life in this situation. Let's also just give a moment of silence for those that were injured. And he also killed 2 teachers, Richard Aspinwall, 39, and Christina Ermy, 53, and injured 9 more others. Now, Colt is being charged as an adult. He's facing 55 counts, including murder and 25 counts of aggravated assault. Now, this case is different because the father was charged. The father was charged and convicted. This is only the second time in U.S. history where the parent has been convicted of murder in connection with the child's school shooting case. Now, the difference in this is Colt's father, Colin Gray, he was criminally charged and convicted for his son's actions. Now, prosecutors, they argue that Colin didn't just miss warning signs, he ignored them, and he armed his son anyway. So, the allegations against the father are that he gifted his son the murder weapon. Colin purchased an AR-15 style rifle as a Christmas gift for Colt and allowed him ongoing access to it and the ammunition. Now, there were multiple red flags that they claimed his father ignored, and he continued giving Colt access to this weapon even though there were red flags popping up and there were things that he should have been paying attention to as a parent. Now, just want to stop for a second. As parents in general, without firearms involved, we should be paying attention to our children, their actions, what they're doing, their emotions, how they're going and coming to school, and just how they're operating on a daily basis, because things affect children differently. Sometimes they hold things in, and we have to pay attention to our children so we have an understanding of what's going on with them, in my opinion. So now, back to the Colt and Colin Gray situation. Now, Colin also ignored Colt's deteriorating mental state. Now, there was a disturbing fixation on mass shooters, including keeping photos of the Parkland shooter Nicholas Cruz in his room. Now, a 2023 investigation led to the finding that Colt was making school-related threats. I mean, there was no charges filed, but still he was making threats at school. Now, that's something serious, and that me as a parent, I'd have took that into deep consideration. I would have removed any firearms or weapons that he may have had just because he's threatening children at school. Now, there was also evidence that Colt previously searched phrases like "how to kill your dad" on school computers. Now, this alone, for me, it would have made me really sit down and talk with my son and remove any ammunition and lock up any ammunition that I had personally if I owned firearms. So that alone, the fact that my child is looking up how to kill your father, would raise red flags with me where I'd be concerned and take the necessary actions. Now, also, prosecutors argue that Colin was fully aware that his son posed a threat, but he continued to allow him access to the AR-15, which, again, you notice certain things and you start seeing certain things. You need to start reevaluating the situation that you're in. You need to start reevaluating what's going on, because there could be possible people in danger, or your child could be a danger to themselves. Now, the charge that Colin faced, now Colin Gray, he was hit with a sweeping list of felony charges, including second-degree murder, 2 counts, involuntary manslaughter, 18 counts of cruelty to children, and reckless conduct. Now, some outlets report up to 25 counts, but so far, from what I understand, it's 18 counts. Now, in total, he faced nearly 30 felony counts, and ultimately he was convicted on 27 of them, including both murder counts and 18 counts of child cruelty. Now, the legal basis why a parent can be convicted of murder, Georgia's second-degree murder law, OCGA 16-5-1D, second-degree murder doesn't require malice or intent. All prosecutors have to prove is the defendant committed second-degree child cruelty, meaning negligent actions causing the child excessive physical or mental pain. Someone died in the result. Now, in this case, prosecutors argue that gifting the mentally unstable minor an AR-15 was criminal negligence. Now, to look at it from this common sense view, I agree, because if his son had never been given that AR-15, he wouldn't have been able to commit this school shooting, even if he was having problems, even if he was having issues. If the dad really paid even more attention to him, he may have been able to prevent this school shooting by getting his child some mental help, or getting him to talk to a professional, along with not providing him or removing the access to the AR-15 that he had purchased him for a Christmas gift. Now, I know, it's a macho bravado thing. Yeah, I got my son a gun. My son can shoot now. It's cool. Yeah, man amongst boys. My son is now, able to, have a firearm and do different things, hunt, whatever the case may be. But in all regards, mental health is the most important thing when owning a firearm, when gifting a firearm, when using a firearm, because you have to have a stable mindset. You have to not be thinking about evil or malicious things that you want to do with the firearm that you're using or with the firearm you're practicing with. And basically, these are some of the things that we have to look at as individuals and parents. Like, even in our own self, we have to look at, how our mental state is when becoming firearm owners. Now, the verdict and what comes next, on March 3rd, 2026, the jury deliberated for less than 2 hours before convicting Colin Gray on all 27 counts. Now, he was immediately taken into custody. Now, the sentencing is still pending, but second-degree murder in Georgia carries 10 to 30 years per count. Involuntary manslaughter carries 1 to 10 years per count. Now, Colin Gray could spend decades in prison for something that his son did because he decided to not pay attention to what his son was doing, his actions, different red flags that were coming to him. He didn't want to pay attention to that, and he definitely didn't want to remove the access to the AR-15 from his son. So, in all, he wanted to be negligent in the signs that he was seeing. So, karma came back around, and he's going to have to be accountable for what his son did, for the lives his son touched, for the pain his son has caused, because you can't get those people back. And some of those people's lives have been changed forever. School is a place where you're supposed to be able to be secure, safe, learn, educate, grow, without the worry of being harmed, or without the worry of injury, without the worry of malice. And unfortunately, those children that are going to have to deal with those memories for years to come. They might have to go to therapy, not to mention losing their classmates, teachers, not to mention the families. There's more pain that's been inflicted due to this than these two individuals may realize. So, the father being convicted along with the son, I think that's a just result in this situation. Again, because people need to see what can happen when you be irresponsible with your firearm, when you are irresponsible with giving your children firearms, when you're not responsible for those that are in your care or in your guardianship. Now, why this case matters nationally? It matters nationally because this conviction is being watched across the country as it touches nearly every major issue in a national debate on guns and youth violence. Now, parental responsibility. It sets a major legal precedent, signaling that parents can face murder charges if they allow access to firearms despite clear warning signs. Now, again, I truly feel like if a child gets a firearm because it wasn't securely locked up or was given to them improperly, then the person that gave it to them or the person who owned the firearm that they had access to should face charges, should face accountability. Because if you had securely had it put away or securely had it locked up, and the person wouldn't have had it to have access to do whatever they may have done. Now, I also feel like if your gun gets stolen because you weren't securely locking it up, because you didn't do your due diligence to make sure somebody couldn't get access to it, you should face some charges as well. Because if you had securely locked it up in a safe, put it away where no one else could get to it, and it wasn't easily accessible and readily accessible, then that crime that was committed may not have been committed. That person that may have been killed or injured may not have been killed or injured. And you not doing your due diligence caused someone to lose their life or caused someone pain and trauma that didn't need to happen. So, in my opinion, when a person is negligent with their firearms, they should face accountability, because that's one of the biggest things with owning a firearm is being able to secure it when you're not using it, keeping it safe so that a person that shouldn't be using it won't get access to it. Now, the mental health warning issue. Now, that's another thing that I've been talking about nationwide, because there are a lot of people who have mental issues. And that's one of the reasons why they do the background checks, to make sure that a mentally unstable person cannot get access to a firearm, because they may be unpredictable in what they're going to do with it. So, I mean, you have to look at it like this. You wouldn't want a person who's schizophrenic. And again, I'm not making any claims. I'm not trying to be biased. I'm just making some statements of fact. You wouldn't want a person who's really not stable mentally to own a firearm, because you're not going to know what they're going to do with it. They may do with it. You know what I mean? And why you would rather err on the side of caution than anything else. Because again, people's lives are at stake. People's property is at stake. I mean, different things can happen when a person who is not mentally stable has a firearm and gets stimulated or gets aggravated, gets upset, gets hurt, or in their emotions, has an episode. Grave things can happen and people can die, as evidence in this shooting here. Now, the firearm storage laws, even in a state like Georgia, with relatively moderate gun storage requirements, a parent can now face homicide charges for unsafe firearm access. Now, I think that every state should require you to securely lock up your guns. Now, I don't think that state should be able to go into your home to verify, but if it comes down to someone got access to your gun, oh, it wasn't the safe, it was on my kitchen table, it was on my desk, then that's your fault and you're legally liable. Now, if someone broke into your safe, steals your safe, or takes your safe out your home, then there's not much you can do about that, because you still attempt to lock your safe up, lock your guns up in your safe to keep them secure and safe from anybody who shouldn't be using them. And then school and safety policy. I mean, lawmakers, school boards, and gun control advocates are pointing to this case as a turning point in how the justice system treats negligent gun-owning parents. Again, being a firearms owner, being a owner of guns is not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. You have to wake up every day and understand how you're going to move, what you're going to do, check yourself, make sure things are secure, make sure things are put away, make sure things aren't left out, make sure people are safe, because that's the whole thing. When you own guns, it's to protect you and those that you care about. It's not to put someone in a position where they could do bodily harm to somebody or harm themselves. And that's one thing I think that we forget. We get lazy, we get complacent when it comes to owning firearms, because we just think, I got it. That's just what it is. And you never know. Things can happen, like leaving it in your car, in your glove compartment, leaving it in your center console, not in a safe. Because if somebody breaks into your car and steals that gun and commits a murder or commits a robbery, you're going to face some charges because you didn't properly secure your handgun. Now, if it's in a safe, under your seat, locked to your chair, and someone steals your car, it's still in the safe. So there's not much you can do there, but it's still securely put away, and they'd have a time to get into that safe. So it's just a matter of making sure you go to the last step, just to ensure your safety. Ensure that you don't have to face any criminal charges because someone broke in and stole your firearms. Now, there's been many changes in the gun laws across the world. Across the United States, excuse me. And like I said, New Hampshire, they're considering, if not already passed, allowing college students to carry guns on on campus. Now it speaks to this situation because on college campus you have a lot of college drinking, you have parties. So the thing about that is, are they going to actively monitor people who are carrying guns? Because guns and alcohol don't mix. You can't bring a gun into a bar. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to police that. So I bring that up to say your choices and the decisions you make mentally often make a difference when you're handling firearms, when you're owning firearms. In these two situations, the first one, a parent thought he was doing a good thing, gifted his son an AR-15 style rifle for Christmas, didn't notice that didn't pay attention, didn't observe the signs. He didn't pay attention that his son was experiencing mental illness, his son was experiencing anger issues, and then when he found out that his son was looking up how to kill his father, he ignored that, which for me personally, I pay attention to my children, how when they come in the house, they have a bad day. So that would have been something that I wouldn't have been able to overlook. And hopefully maybe we'll have some understanding of why he overlooked those red flags and why he didn't really pay attention to him, why he didn't take the AR-15 and ammunition away from his son, what he was thinking. Hopefully maybe that'll come out in the trial transcripts or whatever have you. And I want everybody to understand that being a firearms owner, it takes a lot of responsibility, and it takes a lot of mental fortitude, because you have to be able to sometimes humble yourself, walk away, de-escalate, so you don't have to use your firearm in an unnecessary manner. Again, you always want to stay prepared. You always want to stay trained up. You always want to stay in a space where you are mentally at peace, because a person can easily get on your nerves, get under your skin, and then next thing you know, it's a heightened situation that you have to pump the brakes on fast before it gets out of hand. Again, that's why you should always take the training courses on how to de-escalate situations. Just sometimes sit within yourself and just look at what warning signs that may be a issue or a red flag to notice. And again, this is just something that didn't have to happen. It didn't need to take place. If a parent would have done their due diligence, these people would probably still be alive. And that actually goes in a lot of youth violence situations where the parent did not pay attention to what their child was doing. You hear a lot of times parents say, "Oh, I didn't know my son or daughter was a great kid, didn't do anything, barely swore," when on the other side of that, the child's in school causing havoc on the streets, in gangs, fighting. And it's just, I think, our due diligence. I'm not trying to drag anybody down for how they parent, but it's just our job to make sure we pay attention to our children, because they need us. We've been here before, they haven't. They're trying to navigate a world that they have no real understanding of the consequences or what could happen, or this ain't no video game. There's no reset button. There's no pause button. Sometimes we think, oh, let them learn their mistakes, let them learn on their own, and that could be the last mistake that they learn from, or that could be a situation that puts them in a space that ruins their life forever. So in my opinion, I'd rather tell a child to duck than let them bump their head. And I think that's what our job as parents to do. But again, I'm not here to tell people how to parent their children. I'm just trying to explain some of the things I'm seeing that are leading to certain situations in terms of like youth gun violence or the gang activity, because when children feel like they're not loved, they sometimes turn to the streets. One more aspect that I learned. But again, this is based on a parent not paying attention to their child, and then their child becoming part of a catastrophic situation where they shot numerous people at a school. So you can take this for what you want. You can take this as a wake-up call to observe your children more, even do a self-check on your own mental state. But in closing, what to watch moving forward on this, because it's very important, is Colt's criminal case, because he is charged as an adult and faces 55 counts and will likely receive ongoing national attention, because again, this is only the second time in history a parent has been charged when their child has committed a school shooting. And again, Colin's sentencing will be closely watched to see whether the court imposes a minimum or the maximum or something in between. And then also, some legal experts, they're debating whether this could spark a wave of similar prosecutions nationwide, especially as juvenile shootings rise, which they are on the rise, and we have to figure out a way to curb these shootings. We see it in the inner city. We see it in the black neighborhood too. The violence, the youth gangs, the youngsters, shooting and feeling like they need to carry guns because their lives in danger. That's one thing that we have to all together work on and figure out how we can kind of temper that down, because it is getting out of hand. And babies are losing their lives. Young kids are losing their lives. Young adults are losing their lives. Adults are losing their lives. People losing their lives, period. And we have to work on that, because nobody deserves to die at the hands of, a stranger. Nobody deserves to die, period. Everyone, should be able to live a long, prosperous life and accomplish their goals, their dreams, and it shouldn't be cut short by anybody. Now, also, this raises the ultimate question. Where's the line between parental negligence and criminal liability when it comes, to kids and guns? Where does it lie? What do you think? Do you agree? Do you think a parent should be held liable if their child shoots and kills somebody with a gun they were given or the gun they had access to that they shouldn't have by an adult or their parent? Or what do you think about when a child commits a shooting, a violent crime, and there were ways that it could have been stopped, or there were signs that were ignored that could have possibly prevented it? Let me know what you think in the comments. So like I said, let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like and that subscribe button. Share this video. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers. Stay tuned. Thank you for your time. Check us out on TikTok. Check us out on Facebook. Once again, this has been Mass Gun Talk. I'm Corey S., episode 4. Stay tuned for more jewels, baby. Stop chasing ghosts that ain't calling me back. Gotta learn some doors closed, I can kick in the latch. I remind myself, you don't need all that praise. Some days I'm my biggest fan, some days I'm my own blame. Talking to the ceiling, asking, am I on my way? And I answer back, yeah, just take another day. I tell myself, breathe, you gon' be okay.